Mr. Speaker.
Jenny Salisa.
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Speaker.
Catherine Delahunt.
Thank you very much. I think it is my call. I'd like to take the opportunity to speak briefly about this bill with a great sense of disappointment. My colleague Denise Roach laid out very clearly why it is that we won't be supporting this bill. A number of bills around the issue of gambling have come to this Parliament with the weight of the community expectation that we would make the situation better for the scourge on our communities, and I'm afraid once again the government has failed to do that. Problem gambling is a scourge on our communities, and basically what this bill does is make a couple of useful administrative changes but also open up the gate to some practices which will enhance what we would call the human misery industry. So the human misery industry is the industry which creates dependency on pokies, dependency by venue owners on getting the pokey money, and dependency on community groups having that money. And all of that is encapsulated by some of the changes in this bill, particularly the one about moving away from a prohibition on commission-based payments. That's a significant shift and is one of the main reasons that we cannot support the bill. We cannot support that shift in the bill that will allow commission-based payment to take place, because what it will do is incentivise the pokie venue owners to see those machines, because they get a commission per machine, to see them more heavily used. So we're promoting more gambling harm in this bill. I don't suppose we should be surprised after this is the government that brought you Sky City and traded off our moral perspective on gambling in exchange for more machines. It's also the government that has stopped Problem Gambling Foundation's money until September. So this bill is actually in a context of a problem gambling government. And I would argue that the Prime Minister is a problem gambler, but that's another topic. I shall return to the bill. One of the reasons we're concerned about this is it's not supporting the right of Kiwis to have a safe flutter, but more of the opportunity to dive into an abyss. And I think that's the reason why we're so concerned about it, because this is a dangerous product. And this bill, although we support the clauses that will increase transparency, any form of transparency around funding is good. We are opposed to its premises, particularly around the assumption that we should reward people who stick by the rules, when we know, particularly from the mystery shopper study, that problem gambling venues where gamblers gather are not sticking by the rules. And if they are going to be able to benefit further from the addictive behaviour of vulnerable individuals, no one's going to benefit. And so I've heard previous speakers talk about the bill in terms of how marvellous it is that our community groups can access this money. The money of addiction, the money of loss, the money of family tragedy, which is what problem gambling is. And any of us who's worked in the field of trying to set caps on pokies, as I have myself in the town of Turanga in Gisborne, have seen the struggle that families have trying to avoid this addiction. This bill should have been about that. Harm minimisation, pre-commitment cards, face recognition technology to ensure that through legislation the venues would be required to set up harm minimisation. But unfortunately this bill doesn't do that. It is actually stepping closer to incentivising the venues to want to make more money out of people who are addicted. So we're very concerned about that. We believe that it should have been about greater consumer protection and mitigating the addictive design, because we know that the pokie machines are designed to assist people to be addictive. It's a bit like asking the brewers to run drug and alcohol counselling. It's counterintuitive for brewers to run drug and alcohol counselling, and it's counterintuitive to expect the venues to be the ones who actually manage and police this. And we know they're not doing a good job. So for all the tutoring around in this bill and all the little administrative updates and all of the little reassurances about the Department of Internal Affairs having audit powers and being able to enforce compliance, it's not going to happen if you actually allow this commission-based payment system. It's not going to be safe for everybody, and it's not going to have coverage. So we're going to oppose it, and we're going to put up some SOPs to try and address some of the weaknesses in this bill, because we know we speak for a large proportion of submitters. We know that specialists who came to the select committee, actually most people referred to the Mystery Shopper project, and many of them were very disappointed when they saw where we've got to. So we will not be supporting the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to try and correct a situation which we've got ourselves into in the absence of government support partners who would normally take this call. The call would normally fall to the Labour Party. I think in an excess of politeness between Ms Salisa and Ms Delahunty, we have ended up with a situation where one might have had Jenny Salisa having had a call. She sat down politely to let Ms Delahunty take the normal slot. So I'm going to seek leave of the House for Jenny Salisa to take a call at this point. Is there any objection? There appears to be no objection. Jenny Salisa.
Mr. Speaker,